Well, it's funny, guys, isn't it? The way that pretty much every film, even the greatest films of all time, will have things wrong with them, or just little plot holes or little problems in them that just won't make sense. And just to sort of demonstrate that today, I am going to tell you about 5 things in films that I absolutely love that just kind of bug me, and I just really just don't understand. And before I begin, I should just sort of say that this video is going to contain spoilers to the films that I'm going to talk about here. I'm going to put the film's title on the screen before I start talking about it, so, if you haven't seen the film and you plan to see it at some point in the future, you probably would just want to mute the sound until I'm done talking about that film. So there's the scene, obviously, near the beginning of the film with the nuns talking about Maria, and you have the "How do you solve a problem like Maria?" a little song in there, great song, and all one of the best songs in the film. And then obviously Maria comes in at the end, and there's a little sort of awkward moment where she just sort of sees them there, and just walks off. So she hasn't witnessed the song. She's not aware of the fact that they've been singing about her. But she kind of knows in the back of her mind that they've been talking about her just then from just the look they gave her. But obviously she hasn't heard the song. And then later in the film, they have a reprise of the song, which is, a nice reprise and everything during the wedding with the captain. But, it just kind of bugs me that rather than playing the wedding march at Maria's wedding, they choose to play a song which she hasn't heard before, because she wasn't present the first time they sang it, which is actually rather critical of her. It's kind of an odd choice of song to play during your wedding, isn't it? For one thing, why not just play the wedding march? What is wrong with the wedding march? Why do you feel the need to play this different song instead of the wedding march? Why not just, play it afterwards or something? But, more importantly, why play a song that's critical of her on her wedding day? That's not a particularly nice thing to do, and she hasn't heard the song before. So, do you not think, she's walking down the aisle, I wonder why they're not playing the wedding march? What the hell's this? This song is about me. It's actually rather critical of me. Oh, thanks very much. I'd be a bit miffed on my wedding day if I were Maria, that they choose to sing that song about her. So there's a scene near the end of the film where Simba comes back to Pride Rock, and Simba and the other lionesses are all like, "Well, Scar, you're gone now. You can't be the king anymore. You've got to go, because Simba's the rightful king." And Scar's like, but wait a minute, there's something Simba hasn't told you. He's responsible for Mufasa's death. Yeah, and obviously Simba has to come out and make this confession to all the lionesses. First of all, Scar calls him a murderer, which, even if Simba was responsible for Mufasa's death, is not true, because he didn't intend to kill his father. But more importantly, I don't really understand why this is such a big deal anymore. Mufasa died years ago. Why is it suddenly still sort of relevant that Simba caused Mufasa's death? I'm sure he's sorry about it. He obviously didn't mean to do it. He obviously feels a lot of remorse about it, Does it really make any difference now? It doesn't change the fact that Simba is the rightful king. But the lionesses stand there and don't do anything to help Simba, while Scar is cornering Simba on the edge of a cliff and on the verge of killing him. They're all just standing there in complete shock of the fact that he accidentally caused his father to be killed. Is that really such a big deal anymore, when it's, like years since it happened? It's only when Scar actually comes in and reveals the truth that, in fact, he was the one who killed Mufasa that they actually come in and start fighting, and the big battle at the end begins, which is pretty cool, by the way. One of my favourite sequences. Didn't really like the slow-motion fighting between Simba and Scar, but otherwise it was pretty cool. But I don't understand before that, those few minutes where the lionesses think Simba's responsible for Mufasa's death, and they don't do anything to help him. I don't really understand why the fact that Simba caused his father to die is such a big deal. So there's the scene in the big skyscraper building. It's the first time that the Joker and Batman face off in the film, and Batman obviously comes in. The Joker says, "A little fighting ya. I like that." Batman comes in. "Then you're gonna love me." And they start the big fight, and the Joker's all like, well, just take your mask off, or I'll throw Rachel out the window. And Batman's like, "Let her go." And the Joker's like, very poor choice of words. And he throws her out the window, and obviously Batman dives after it. It's a great little sort of action scene as he falls. It's like a James Bond stunt almost, the way he's falling after her. And the first time I saw this, I assumed at first the Batman was just going to open up his cape and then we're going to go flying off into the night. The hero and the female lead sort of flying off kind of scene, similar to what Spider-Man and Mary Jane did in the first Spider-Man film. The Tobey Maguire film, not the one that came out this year. But as it turns out, no, Batman doesn't open his cape at all. They just fall right down to the ground, they crush the car, a car that they land on, and they're apparently perfectly fine. How the hell did they survive when Batman didn't even open his cape? And then Batman is just like, okay, well that's done, the Joker's still up in the building doing God knows what. He's not going to find Harvey because he's gone, but there's plenty of other people in there the Joker could potentially do nasty things to, and Batman's just like, screw them. Don't really get that. I don't understand how they survive the fall. I don't understand why Batman just abandons it once he knows Rachel and Harvey are safe. I don't really understand why Batman just abandons the idea once he knows Harvey and Rachel are safe. Obviously, Sarah finds out when the Terminator comes back from the future about Skynet, and she finds out that Dyson set up Skynet, with good, honest intentions, and, obviously started the war. So Sarah's logical conclusion to try and prevent this is to kill Dyson. But the thing is, Dyson has good intentions. He's not a bad person. And he hasn't actually done anything wrong at this stage. Would it not make more sense to actually explain the situation to him and explain what he's going to cause, and therefore maybe it's not such a good idea to set up Skynet? Because he's not a bad person at all. Sarah knows that. But no, she feels it's better to just go off and kill him. I don't quite understand that. I mean, I guess you could argue that maybe Sarah feels so much anger for what Dyson has caused that she just feels he deserves to die, even though he hasn't actually done anything wrong yet. But it's not like Sarah has directly suffered at the hands of what Dyson's caused yet, because, she's still in the present day before the wars started. So, Sarah hasn't really suffered. The only thing she's really suffered as a direct result of what Dyson's caused maybe is Kyle Reese's death in the first film, but Kyle Reese wouldn't have come back in the first place had it not been for Dyson setting up Skynet. So no, I don't understand that. And of course they actually do go ahead and just tell Dyson what he's going to cause, and Dyson's like, okay, well I guess I better not set up Skynet. I don't even think that even if Sarah had killed Dyson, that necessarily would have prevented Dyson from... well, not Dyson, obviously, because he'd be dead, but it wouldn't necessarily prevent the war. It wouldn't necessarily prevent Skynet from being set up, because obviously there's hundreds of other people involved in Dyson's work. And there's his wife and his kid. They may have been inspired because of their father's death, because of Dyson's death, maybe to go ahead and set up Skynet themselves. The king is dead, long live the king, so to speak. But telling Dyson what he's going to cause makes a lot more sense. Of course, to be fair, they do actually go ahead and do that, but I don't understand why Sarah initially felt she had to kill Dyson. And just to prove every film has its problems, big or small, my all-time favourite film has something in it that bugs me. Obviously, the doc is shot by Libyan terrorists just before Marty is sent back into the past, and obviously he meets the 1955 doc when he gets back there, and logically, of course, he thinks, I better warn him about him getting shot. But the doc, not realising perhaps quite the sort of seriousness of the situation and what Marty's trying to warn him about, thinks, no, I mustn't know too much about my own future. My logical conclusion to that problem would have been for Marty just simply to yell at the doc when he's not expecting it or something, just to say, Doc, you're going to get shot, you're going to get killed. Your life depends on me telling you this now, because otherwise you're going to be dead in 30 years. And then once the doc knows, he can't unhear it, and he's probably going to think a little differently about this information once he knows, that his life is at stake. And of course, Marty does kind of do this towards the end of the film, just as he's about to leave. He says to the doc, oh, I'm going to tell you straight out. And he also says to the doc, your life depends on this. But the doc still won't listen for some reason. He values the space-time continuum ahead of his own life, maybe? Because he's a scientist or something? In which case, why did he go ahead and just go along with Marty's warning in the end and put on the bulletproof vest? And the Doc seems to have some kind of mixed priorities here. He obviously values his own life, but he also values the space-time continuum possibly more than his own life, even when Marty tells him, your life is at stake here. No, I don't think either character dealt with that situation particularly well, to be honest. Nevertheless, despite these minor flaws in each of these films, they are still fantastically awesome films, and if there are any of them that you haven't seen yet, you must absolutely go ahead and see them right now. Go on, go see them.